Hi everyone, this is Karen Fomafung, your Agile Evangelist, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be talking about dependencies. We will be talking about dependencies in the Scrum product development life cycle. By the end of this video, you will understand what dependencies are. You will understand the different kinds of dependencies, and also you will have some understanding on how you can keep these dependencies under control so that they don't negatively impact the outcome and the output of your sprint. Before we go deep into our topic, I want to first of all welcome all our new followers today and ask you to please subscribe so that you stay in sync of what we do here on weekly basis. And for my religious followers, my loyal followers, I just want to give a quick shout out to you all. Your support has been amazing. You've been there right from when I, conceived this idea to start sharing my experience, so we all can continue to learn and grow together. And it's all been amazing. It's all because of you that I stay motivated to come here every week and share more information with you. So thank you so very much. Now let's get started. In my opinion, dependencies can simply be defined as the relationship that exists between functional requirements, team members, tasks, other stakeholders, resources that may impact the sequential flow of the execution of work, if not proactively identified and managed correctly. You see, and moreover, the larger the number of Scrum teams in the organization, the more the dependency string. So it becomes even more complicated when there are so many Scrum teams within an organization. So in Scrum, dependencies can be broadly classified under 4 categories. Number 1, you have the inter-story dependencies. These are simply dependencies between user stories. Number 2, you have inter-team dependencies. These are simply dependencies between Scrum teams. Number 3, you have inter-product and or release dependency. And number 3, you have inter-product and or release dependencies. These are simply dependencies across product or releases or dependencies of the same product. And then the last one is external dependencies. These are simply dependencies that involve things like vendors, suppliers, contractors. So those are the 4 broad categories of dependencies in a Scrum team. So there are several different techniques that you can apply to identify dependencies and keep them under control so that they don't negatively impact the sequential flow of our work during the sprint. So my number 1 recommended technique to identify dependencies and keep them under control would be story mapping. So bringing your teams and stakeholders together and taking your time to conduct story mapping, it's really helpful. It's a very helpful tool because just conducting story mapping alone increase visibility. So using this whatever tool you're using, so Scrum teams use so many different tools to conduct story mapping, especially in this virtual world that we are in today. Some teams use the mural board, other teams use Miro, some other teams use Teams, Microsoft Teams. Since we all are in the virtual world right now. But if it was an in-person work setting, you would use your natural whiteboard to conduct something like story mapping. Yeah, so conducting story mapping, it really helps increase visibility amongst stories, features, epics. That way you can easily identify dependencies, and conducting this story mapping, you can clearly see which stories or features should come first, which one should come second, which one should come third. Just doing that, practicing that really helps the team, give the team the opportunity to identify potential dependencies that they may not have been able to identify if they didn't conduct these visualized story mapping. So that's a very effective tool that you can actually leverage to identify dependencies and plan accordingly. So that will be my number one recommended approach. My second recommended tool that you can leverage to identify your dependencies and plan towards them is backlog prioritization. In this case, as a Scrum Master, you will need to really collaborate, partner, and work closely with the product owner to ensure that the backlog is prioritized correctly and on time. So the backlog has to be prioritized and ranked correctly and on time. So this is a perfect opportunity as well for the team to identify dependencies and plan towards them. So in this case, the product owner would be at the better position to identify any kind of dependencies that may have, happened or missed the story mapping phase. Yes, so backlog prioritization also is an important tool. Just being able to prioritize your stories, identify priorities, identify minimum viable product, identify their ranks and rank them correctly is also a very resourceful tool that you can leverage to identify your dependencies and plan towards them. My third recommended tool is the Scrum of Scrum community. So if your organization doesn't currently have a Scrum of Scrum community, you as a Scrum Master, if you work for that company, it's your duty to go ahead and set up one. Go ahead, identify, other people, other Scrum Masters who may be passionate about, the success or the outcome or the value added to the customers. Identify this kind of people, and together you people come together and establish a Scrum of Scrum. So you can actually leverage this Scrum of Scrum as an opportunity to identify dependencies and plan towards them, especially dependencies that are inter-team. Inter-team dependencies can actually be caught during these Scrum of Scrum platform. So that would be my third approach that you can actually apply to identify your dependencies and plan towards them. So the fourth tool that you can use to identify your dependencies and plan towards them is the Scrum board. The Scrum board is also a very important tool that you can leverage, especially because you have the opportunity to visualize it on daily basis during your daily stand-up. When you as a Scrum Master is just doing a quick runs or quick check in your tool, whatever tool you use, your Jira board or your Azure DevOps board, you quickly jump into your Scrum board, or some people call it the sprint backlog. You want to jump in that board and visualize, what's going on. It's a perfect opportunity for you as a team to catch dependencies and plan towards them. So in my team, what we usually do is we identify, especially during our stand-ups or during backlog refinement, during sprint planning, we use tags. We use tags to identify our dependencies. So when we identify dependencies, we tag them. That way we know that these stories are dependent on these stories. So Scrum board is a perfect tool, visual tool that you can use to identify your dependencies, and then tags are also great to make sure that you are keeping track of these dependencies, and then you are completing your work accordingly based on these dependencies that you have identified. Another way to identify, track, and keep your dependency under control would be to take advantage of the central dependency team. So this one is common for organizations that are really large and practice Agile or Scrum in large scale, like Safe, Less, that take advantage of all these other frameworks. They usually have a body that is called the central dependency team. So this team is designated to identify dependencies at scale, and keep track of this dependency and plan towards them, just so that the workflow will not be disturbed by these kind of dependencies. Yes, so the central dependency team is what they normally call it, and so organizations, you hear them calling it the central dependency body. So their own job is to ensure that they are identifying dependencies regardless of the kind of dependency, whether it's inter-team dependency, whether it's inter-story dependency, whether it's inter-product and or release dependency, or whether it's external dependency. Their job is to make sure that they are identifying this dependency, especially at scale level, and then they keep track of them and plan towards them. and then that's how their work will run smoothly. A quick reminder, please, if you're new to this platform, you are very welcome. Please go ahead and turn on that subscription button, turn on the notification bell, join this successful and winning team. This platform is for continuous learning, continuous growth, sharing of information. So join this team so that you stay in sync of what we share here on weekly basis. Also, if you are interested in more than just what we share on this platform, that is a one-on-one mentoring, coaching services. If you're struggling to, break through the Scrum market, please, you can reach out to us. Go to the description box. You'll find our contacts. Reach out to us and we will do our best. We will do everything we can to help build you up, to make sure that you are ready. You have the right mindset. You have the right tools that will set you up for success in the job market, that will set you up for success in the field, that will set you up for success throughout your career as a Scrum Master, as an Agile leader, as an Agile Coach. Thank you so much. Now, let's go back into our topic. Another avenue that you can use to identify your dependencies is during a backlog refinement. So if your team is not currently practicing backlog refinement, please look into it, evaluate the impact of backlog refinement in your process, and then test it, try it. Backlog refinement has been a very valuable tool that my team and I use, to identify dependencies. So we've actually added dependency as one of our definition of ready. So that alone it's on our checklist. So as we are planning our work for the sprints, we ensure that we are checking dependencies, any form of dependency, given the 4 categories of dependencies, we are making sure that we are checking so that we don't miss any dependency that will hinder us from flowing smoothly when we are at the execution phase of our work during the sprint. So leverage your backlog refinement sessions to identify dependencies, and a great way to do it, like I said, is to add it into as one of your definition of ready. Add it on your checklist as one of your definitions of ready. Also, during all these other events, I've already mentioned that, like the planning, like the daily stand-up, you also want to continuously evaluate and ensure that your team is identifying these dependencies and keeping track of them and planning towards them. Last but not the least, you want to ensure that you are involving your team early on in the process. Take advantage of your team just because they are the one doing the actual work. So they may be at a better position to catch most or some of these dependencies that stakeholders may not have been able to catch, that the product owner may not have been able to catch, or even you yourself as a Scrum Master may not have been able to catch. So involve the people doing the real work early on in the process. This story mapping phase is a typical avenue that you would want to involve your team as much as possible to ensure that, they are identifying dependencies and keeping track of them and planning towards them to ensure that their work, the sequence of their work, runs smoothly when they get to their team level and start executing their work. They don't want to be stopped by dependencies that could have easily been caught if you have taken all these various steps. So those will be my recommended tools and techniques that you can leverage to ensure that you are identifying dependencies during your sprints, during your product planning, during your release planning, during your PI planning, and you are, planning towards them and ensuring that your work runs smoothly without any issue. This will be the end of this video. Please share your thought in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching today. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comment section. I'll also like what you think about this video. And again, if you are new to this platform, you are most welcome. Thank you for joining the family. Go ahead and click that subscription button, turn on the notification bell so you remain in sync on what we do here on weekly basis. If you are also interested in more than just what we are sharing on this platform, let's say if you've been struggling on, landing that first role, if you've been struggling on just understanding the mechanics around Agile, around Scrum, if you've been stuck within the mechanics and you're just not sure what this whole thing is and you're interested in knowing more about it, if you're struggling, with acquiring the right mindset to be successful in the field, or if you are in the field and you're just struggling in doing your job, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. Go to the description box. You'll find our contacts there. Reach out to us. Send us an email, and then we will discuss and come up with a plan on how to close your gap. And one last thing, just so you know, I show up every week here because of you. I show up every week here because of your motivation, because of your support, because of your encouragement. That means everything to me. This is my purpose. I believe this is my calling, and I'm always so very delighted to come on here every week and share my experience with you, just because I know that it's going to help somebody out there move one step ahead. That's where I find my joy. That's where I find my pleasure, So thank you so much for your encouragement. Thank you so much for your motivation. Thank you so much for your support. It means everything to me, and I just want to let you know that I really, really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Share this video with your friends. Share this video with your family. Share this video even at your job, And thank you again for watching, and I will hope to talk to you next week. Bye.